Good morning on this lovely, warm Tuesday. I have Tim Josi here. Hello, sir.
Well, good morning. How are you?
Good. Normally you come in and we talk commissioner stuff, but today you're coming in to talk about your...
Candidacy.
Yeah, thank you. I was thinking, is that the right word? Candidacy?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That's the word I was thinking of, but it felt wrong. My coffee hasn't kicked in yet. For State House Representative for District 32, right? Okay. I feel like we all kind of know you're a commissioner and you're here. People might not know that you actually held this position previously.
I did.
Right? So can you tell us a little bit about that and how your personal background and kind of how you got into politics?
So I'll start.
Start at the very beginning.
Start from the beginning. So the people
born.
that listen to this probably have heard me speak many times and know a bunch of this. But I was raised on a dairy farm, the Josi Dairy. It's still in existence and is viable and doing really well. Back when I was a kid, we had about 50 or 60 cows. And now they're, I don't know, on the upside of 300, maybe 400. I just don't know, but it's a lot of cows, and they bought a couple of dairies in the vicinity. 1, 2, 3. So in addition to the one that they had, so they've expanded quite a bit. So anyway, I was raised on a dairy farm. I did a lot of work. Any kid that was raised on a farm or a kid that is on a farm knows that this is...
it's a full-time job.
It's a full-time job. I'd get up in the morning.
Literally full-time job.
And Dad would wake me up or us up, and we'd head out to the barn with him, and then we'd help him milk cows and then clean the barn. And then we had the radio on, and a certain jingle, I think it was at 7:30, told us to get out of the barn, head over to the house, get cleaned up, eat some breakfast, and catch the school bus on the run. And so when we got out of school, it was the same thing. And so we'd have a couple hours to study every night, but between then it was working and eating
and school.
And so
you didn't have time to get in trouble.
Didn't have time to get. I was envious of kids that lived in the city because they got to do a lot of things that we couldn't do. But now I look back and I realized I had a great life. I wouldn't trade that for anybody. But it did give me. It instilled in me the value of hard work. And so that has continued all the way through life. And so I've appreciated that. So I went to college, and when I was working my way through college in the spring or summer vacation and spring vacation and Christmas vacation, Ben Purcell, who owned the plywood mill at the port of Tillamook Bay, this is the one that actually burned down. He had a plywood mill, and he hired my twin brother and I. And so we started off on a green chain, and then I ended up working all over that plywood mill as time went by. But the one thing that it taught me was I did not want to work in a plywood mill. It was a great incentive to get my college degree. And I always hated it when a spring vacation or summer, whatever else came along, because I knew I was going to be...
It was not your thing.
Pulling on the green chain. So anyway, so after I graduated from Oregon State, I got a degree in parks administration, which including parks development, park design, and landscape design, and all that stuff. And so I went to work at the city for the city of Astoria, and I redesigned their entire city park system and drew up a comprehensive park plan. It started off as part of an internship program that was required. They hired me initially just to do one park, Tapiola Park. And so I did that, and then they decided to keep me around, and I was supposed to be done in 3 months, and they kept me for 9.
Nice.
And so I finished that, and then I had the old proverbial crossroads. When I finished that job in Astoria, I had a job offer in Bellingham, Washington, or Bellevue, Washington, and to run their park system. And so all I had to do was I was on a motorcycle at that time. All I had to do is take that motorcycle and turn it north and for that job. But I decided that, no, I'm going to come home and do like the rest of my brothers and sisters and start my own landscape or my own business. And so I started a landscape construction business called Mountain View Landscaping, and I did that for a little over 20 years. And it raised my family on that, paid the mortgage off and that sort of thing. I really enjoyed that. So because it was a business, I hired people, and so I had to manage. So I enjoyed that.
Sure.
So anyway, then I was asked to run for the Tillamook PUD Board of Directors by a guy that was a friend of mine. He was an attorney. He used to be the Justice of the Peace in Tillamook. And he encouraged me to run, and so I did. And I served there in a selected position, and I served as a PUD director for 8 years. Shortly after a couple of terms in, I was asked by the Democratic Party Central Committee chair she asked me to consider running for the Oregon legislature. And I about fell off the couch.
I was going to say, that seems like a big jump.
Yeah.
From a PUD board to the legislature.
I said, no, I don't think so. So then I remember sitting on the couch that night watching TV, or pretending like I was watching TV. I was in sort of a state of shock.
Brain is running. Yeah.
So then the next time around, sure enough, I decided to run. I ran against Paul Hanneman, who was a 24-year veteran in the legislature. I ran against him. He won, and I got 45% of the vote. I thought that was good.
Not bad, yeah.
But, in reality, it's he worked me over pretty hard. That's really considered.
But still, it's not a very big swing between 45 and 55.
I think I may have won Tillamook County, but I can't remember. So then, anyway, the next couple years later, I filed again and ran, and Paul Hanneman decided to not run. So it was an open seat, and I ran against a guy who from the Yamhill County. His name was Gary George, the Republican, and it was a hard-fought race. And I ended up winning by, I think, 162 votes.
You did, or he did?
I did. And so
wow.
It was very, very close.
That was very close.
And it wasn't until a week later that I actually found out that I'd won. In fact, when I was picking up lawn signs the following Monday, or the weekend, over in the area, I picked up a lawn sign from a supporter of mine, and she had this real somber look on her face. And I says, "What's the matter?" She says, "Have you read the papers?" And it was the McMinnville paper said that after the absentee ballots were counted, Gary George won. Oh man, that just really put my ego in the toilet. I was so depressed. I kept thinking, that can't be true. That can't be true, because I looked at the information, and it wasn't until the following Tuesday, because
they had to get they had to get all those counted.
Monday was a holiday.
Yeah.
So then so we got the information. Sure enough, the paper was wrong, and I won. I was so relieved, and it was very emotional. So anyway, I served for 8 years in the Oregon legislature, and we had, about 2/3 of the way into that, there was term limits were initiated through the referendum process. And so after 8 years, I was kicked out.
Yeah.
And so I was very upset about that. I wasn't ready to leave the legislature. I enjoyed it. But I decided, well, since I can't be a legislator, I'll run for county commissioner, which I did, and I won. And now looking back on it, that term limits,
it worked out well.
It worked out really well. Term limits are no longer in existence.
Oh, it was just a short period of time?
Yeah, it was. There were two issues on the ballot, and so therefore it was determined to be illegal. So they ended up putting it back on the ballot again with one issue. And then the voters turned it down. So I was really glad to hear that.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I ran for county commissioner. This is my 20th year. And
as a commissioner?
As a commissioner.
Wow.
Long time.
Yeah.
The old record was 12 years, and I blew past that.
Yeah, you did.
I'm not, as people know, I'm not running again. I think there were 8 people running in this position.
Six.
So
I think there were 8 at one point, and two pulled out.
Yeah, there's pent-up desire, to jump into that.
Big shoes to fill.
Well, thank you. I like hearing that.
Yes.
So, I have people that tell me all the time that they say, well, we're going to miss you. And then they say, well, I hope you make it in the legislature. People here in Tillamook County they say, oh, you're shoo-in for the legislature. Here's what they don't know.
There's a lot of people running for that.
Well, there are 3 of us, and the other 2 are from Clatsop County, and I'm from Tillamook. And Tillamook County is about 20% of the district. Clatsop County is about 70% of the district.
Yeah.
And maybe 75%. And so, anyway, I have to overcome that. But what I have going for me, when I was in the legislature, I represented Clatsop County.
Sure.
And so a lot of the people remember me.
Good.
Not a lot of people, but I've been spending a lot of time over there reacquainting myself with the folks. I've been throughout the business community talking to the people from the fishing industry and the timber industry and you name it, and going to the Chamber of Commerce meetings and going to the Port of Astoria meetings and talking to the people in the community that make Astoria go. So anyway, I've been reacquainting myself with those folks.
Yeah.
And a lot of those folks say that they say, oh, you got it made. But what they don't know, and here's the rest of the story, Tiffany Mitchell, she jumped into the race with literally 2 minutes to go before the deadline. And
is she the teacher? Is she a teacher?
No.
Oh, okay.
The teacher withdrew.
Oh, okay.
So Tiffany is she works for the state. I think she's an intake specialist for the state for I'm reaching a little bit, and I could be wrong, but kids needing to go into foster homes. So she moved to the community in 2015. I think I heard she's 34 years old. But she's a member of the union and the SEIU union. And so because she's a member of the union, 3 of the unions have endorsed her, the Oregon Education Association, SEIU, and AFSCME. They've all endorsed her because she's a member of the union and because, I believe, Tillamook County, we just went through some really tough union negotiations with AFSCME, and so they're still a little bit, they're still upset with me how that went. What they fail to recognize is that we have to be really conservative or we're going to be broke.
Right.
We just did our first round of budgetary process for Tillamook County. We had to reduce our budget by $1.6 million.
Yamamoto came in on Thursday and talked a little bit about
all about that.
Yep.
So anyway, they're stinging for that, and I understand that, but and part of it is I think that they just think we were being dishonest, which is just not true. It's very, very frustrating. So anyway, the unions are supporting her, and then there are women's organizations that are supporting her.
Sure.
And then there are a group of Portland Democrats that are supporting her, legislative Democrats.
But the district doesn't run into Portland, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
But they've been supporting her. They're trying to get her elected, and so that to further their cause to get more women elected. And
sure.
I think that's fine. But on the other hand, I think they want her vote. She's a progressive liberal and very much in the environmental camp, and so they want her vote. My contention is that she doesn't represent the district because our district is much more moderate than that.
Sure.
We have natural resource industries that we need to protect, and so she doesn't represent the
full span,
the full spectrum, our natural resources economy, and so that's
concerning.
And so they're going to be. They're going to be putting a lot of money into her race.
Yeah, and pushing for her.
And so I've had to raise mine the old-fashioned way. I've had to get on the phone and raise money. But I got a lot of money from the business lobby from across the state, people that want somebody in there that that could take into full consideration the business needs of the state so that we don't shoot ourselves in the foot.
Right.
If we're going to be providing care for our kids, and we want to fund schools. There are a number of social programs that we want to provide for, but how do you provide for those? How can you say you want to do those sort of things, but yet on the other hand, you're going to want to shut down our natural resource industries, such as timber. I've been accused of being too close to the timber industry. I tell people I'm too close. I'm close to the people that work for the timber industry. They make $50,000 plus a year, and plus benefits. So we shut down the timber industry or shut down a portion of the timber industry. These folks are going to be out of a job. So they end up working for the service sector, which provides about $22,000 a year. And, that's minimum wage.
Right.
So why would a good Democrat want to do that? So that just drives me a little bit nuts about the other two candidates, especially her. The other one, his name is John Orr. He's an attorney, but he hasn't practiced for the last few years. I think he had a difficult time making a go of it. And so he's in a band. I understand it's a really good band. He's working hard at it. And I kind of like the guy, but he's going to have time getting traction.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I have to take a quick break. We're going to talk about Clark's Plumbing. And I thought, could we talk about maybe PERS or housing? Do you want to?
Yeah.
I do feel like we're getting a little housing. I mean, everybody's talking about housing, but maybe you have some different ideas other than the commissioners. Do you know one of those do-it-yourself kind of guys are always telling you to do it yourself? Well, sometimes that isn't the best solution. You're in luck whether it's a leaky faucet, a complete bathroom remodel, or maybe replacing that septic system. Do yourself a favor. Call Clark's Plumbing. They're professionals. They'll get the job done. Anything, new installations, upgrades, that stopped-up drain, you name it, they can do it. So the next time you hear do it yourself, do yourself a favor and call 842-5105. That's 842-5105 for the professionals at Clark's Plumbing. So we're talking with Tim Josi this morning, and your candidacy for State House Representative for District 32, which is our district. Can you, because we're like, holy cow, it's already 10 minutes till.
I ended up a gift.
It's okay. I know. You'd like to talk, and I like it. Housing.
All right. So,
what are some things you can do as a state house representative?
Oh, okay. So let's talk. You mentioned PERS,
or PERS. Yeah, go ahead.
Let's do that one first.
Nobody's really talked about PERS. The commissioners don't really have a hand in that, but
well, we do.
Do you?
Oh, yeah. See, I bring some expertise to the PERS issue because Tillamook County we have our own retirement plan by law, which has to be as good as or better than PERS.
Oh,
and
okay.
so really our retirement plan mirrors PERS in a lot of ways. PERS and our retirement plan are both in trouble because of an unfunded liability. Our unfunded liability is about $23 million, $23 million.
The county or the state?
No,
the county.
The state's
it's in the billions, right?
Yeah, they're $25 billion.
Yeah. Ooh.
And so, but here's the difference between what they're doing and what we're doing. So first of all, the trustees for our county retirement system are the 3 county commissioners. So the buck stops with us. And if we screw up and we're unethical or don't pay good attention to our plan, we're personally liable. For the legislator, the trustees are 90. And so people can just get hidden behind that number and say it's not that big of a deal. So for us, what we're doing is, according to our actuarials, Millimans, they meet with us once a year, and they tell us a couple of things. First of all, they say, well, more than 2. They say, here's your unfunded liability, and which we've already talked about, and then they say, and here's what you should assume will be your annual rate of return on the investment for your trust fund, and then finally they say, here's the percentage of money that you need to take out of the general fund, a percentage of what you pay your employees, and put it into your trust fund. And so the first thing that they told us what our unfunded liability was, talked about that. Then the next thing they said is, really, you shouldn't assume any more than 6.5% rate of return. PERS, what they're doing is they're saying, no, we can do better than that. We're going to assume 7.5% rate of return. So what that does, as soon as you make an over-optimistic assumption on your rate of return, it decreases your unfunded liability artificially.
Right.
So we're not doing
because you're not promised that you're going to get 7.25% or whatever it was.
And so what we have done, because we're more realistic with our rate of return, we've been told that we need to pay 35% of the amount of money that we pay our employees. It comes right out of the general fund, not on the backs of the employees, and that's what we need to do to pay down our unfunded liability. Well, we're not there yet. We started at 30%, then we went to 31%. We're going to this year, after we pass our budget, we're going to go to 32%, and then each year we'll go all the way up to 35%. So we're ratcheting up. PERS, on the other hand, I think they're at 27%. So they're never going to buy their way out of this problem, and we are. And so that's the message that I want to take back to Salem, is that we need to figure out how to pay down this unfunded liability and be more responsible. That's another reason why the unions didn't support me, because I says I have some expertise because of our county retirement plan.
Sure. And
I'd like to go to Salem and work on on PERS reform. They didn't want to hear about it. They were angry with me, and they wrote me off at that point. So that tells me what one of the problems are. why can't we solve this problem in Salem? And the reason why is because the unions don't want to deal with it. Mm-hmm. They just want to put their head in the sand and just assume it's going to fix itself. That's just irresponsible. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I've talked about that. So I think I got one more time for one more thing.
Sure.
So one of the things that we've been trying to do in Tillamook County is we recognize that we have a workforce housing problem. Mm-hmm. You've heard about this before.
Oh, yes.
And
many times.
And so we put a 1% excise tax on the ballot, and it went down 2-1, which was too bad because the problem still exists. And if the problem is that people that come to work in Tillamook, they get offered a job in Tillamook County. They work for the cheese factory or the hospital, one of the school districts.
Even the county.
And the county, and good paying job. And they can't find a place to live. So they end up not accepting the job and going somewhere else.
Or they get a place in like Forest Grove and then commute, which who wants to do that?
Yeah, so it's just... This is going to drive our economy into the ground, and we need to find a way to fix this. And so here's something that...
Which, by the way, this is a problem throughout the state. Betsy Johnson was on yesterday, and we talked a little bit about it, too.
Yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm. It is a statewide problem, and people need to accept that we have a real issue. Even as much as we've talked about in Tillamook County, can't get people to wrap their hands around this issue. We have to find workforce housing, or our economy is going to go into the toilet over time. So here's what I propose doing, and I'm working with the other two commissioners on this, and they're also working. In fact, I just talked to Commissioner Bartline and Commissioner Yamamoto about my proposal, and they said, "Wow, we're thinking about the same thing."
Oh, well,
so,
perfect.
Anyway, what with transient lodging taxes. Right now, 70% of it, it comes to 70% of the transient lodging taxes has to be used for promotion of the tourism industry. And then 30% we can use for whatever we want, and we use it for our roads. And so and that's written into statute.
Right.
What I want to do is change that. The 30% stays the same, but take the 70%, drop it back to 50%, take the other 20% and use it for workforce housing.
Yeah.
And so the lodging industry has been opposed to this. They've tried it in the past, and it would take some finesse to get it done. But if I'm in the inside, then I think we got a better chance of getting it passed. As a former legislator, I took on tough issues that didn't have much chance of getting passed, and just worked it and got them passed. And so I know how to write laws or bills. I know how to get them passed. I know the process. And so I look forward to getting back and getting to work. The final thing I'll say with the little bit of time that I've got left, the other reason why I mentioned this, but I want to make sure that we protect our natural resource jobs. In this case, I've spent my entire 20 years as a county commissioner representing the Council of Forest Trustline Counties on forest issues. I want to make sure that legacy stays, and so that those state forests remain active. And so I want to continue working on that. And I'll finish by saying people say that I want to maximize timber on our state forest lands, timber harvest. That's never been the case. Back in 2001, when the current forest management plan was adopted, it was determined that for the three big districts, we could, if we managed them as a private timber company would, we could get 350 million board feet per year. So we said, no, we will drop that down for the environmental greater good. Instead of 350, we'll settle for 280. And so the bill was, or the forest management plan was adopted. And so we're not even getting 280, we're getting 180 million board feet per year.
That's a pretty big disparity.
So I've been fighting with the Department of Forestry and the Board of Forestry to get that harvest level up. And of course, the environmental community, Wild Salmon Center, they say that that I want to rape and pillage up there and maximize timber harvest and that sort of thing. That's just not true, and for the reasons that I talked about. And then if people go on my website, they can. I have an issues paper that talks about the three current studies on forest practices and their impacts on fish and streams. And so I don't have time to talk about that, but they can look at that. If they go
There's
to my
been
website.
Research done. I think, didn't you tell me it was up Trask? They did a control study. Yeah.
So anyway, if they would do that, I'd appreciate it. And it's all really good news. Fish numbers actually stay static or they increase after timber harvest.
Plug your website real quick.
It's
Tim
Josi, one word, at .org.
.org.
Yeah, excuse me, .org.
Tim, Josi.
Yeah,
right?
you can tell you. I know my stuff, but I don't know much about websites.
It's okay. Someone else will run it for you. Tillamook is farm country. Nobody serves this farming community better than the Co-op, Tillamook's country store. The Co-op is actually 3 stores in one. Are you looking for work clothes, hickory shirts, work boots, rubber boots, rain gear, and gloves? The Co-op has it. You'll find fencing, stock tanks, and everything from PVC to 18-inch culvert pipe in stock at Tillamook's country store. No more hunting for that hard-to-find bolt. You'll find a complete selection, galvanized or stainless, whatever you need in standard and metric. O-rings, boat drain plugs, they've got it all. Tillamook's Country Store treats you right. When you stop for fuel, your windows are always washed because they care about their customers. And the kids count too. There's toy tractors, trucks, trailers, and animals for that young farmer in your life. Plus, the Co-op has Purina feeds to help your livestock thrive. Offering quality products since 1936, Tillamook Farmers Co-op is Tillamook's Country Store. So tomorrow we will have Commissioner candidate Walt Porter. I think him and Aaron are the last 2 that are coming in. Senior meals, don't forget about them. Noon every weekday at the Kiowana Community Center in Pacific City, as well as the Tillamook Senior Center at 4th and Stillwell. Costs us $3 for seniors and $6.75 for everyone else. Tomorrow there's another candidates forum at the Pine Grove Community House in Manzanita starting at 5:30. And Tim, you said you won't be there, but a couple of the other state house reps.
Yeah, that's right. I just can't make it. Have a prior conflict.
Yeah, I know. Betsy was saying that it's hard sometimes when you have such a busy schedule and then someone tries to throw something in. You already have something scheduled. The Addams Family musical premieres this week at Nestucca High School. Tomorrow is the matinee performance starting at 11. Tickets are $5. Evening performances are Friday and Saturday starting at 7. General admission tickets are $8. The father-daughter dance is Saturday out at the fairgrounds. This is for preschool to 8th grade students. You can get tickets at the chamber office. There will not be tickets at the door. So if you are wanting to go to this, you need to get down to the chamber office this week. Tillamook County Solid Waste is holding an event for National Drug Take-Back Day on Saturday. Residents can take their unused, unwanted, and expired medications to the fairgrounds from 9 to noon. Please, no sharps, IV meds, or medical waste. And Monday Musical has their final cultural event series concert on Monday the 30th at 7 p.m. Chase Padgett will be at Tillamook High School performing his show 6 Guitars. It is 1 man, 6 characters, 6 styles with 6 different kinds of comedy. Tickets are available at mondaymusicalclub.com. Kids 18 and under get in free. Tim, thanks for coming in this morning. Good talk.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and thank you, Tillamook, for listening.